Hi guys, we are obviously in my kitchen and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes of your time so that way we can think about, our hard-earned money goes into buying our best purchases for fruits and vegetables, and certainly we want that food to be eaten up and consumed, and so part of that is always figuring out how much to buy, how to store it. So today we're going to talk about tips for making sure that food stays fresh. So I'm Dr. Jen Anaker with Anaker Clinics of Chiropractic. I'm going to kind of run through a few fruits and vegetables, things you can think about, making sure that you're storing things correctly so that way they last longer and you're able to consume all of your fruits and vegetables that you purchase. It's said that 61% of the food for US consumers is actually wasted. So I will dive into the tips, but I think too sometimes even just sitting down and doing some meal planning, looking through your fridge, seeing what you have, making that grocery list, hopefully that alone will cut down on it. But I also think it's important to dive into what we're going to talk about, what are some tips in order to store the food in your refrigerator or in your pantry. So the first one we're going to talk about is beets. Beets is obviously, you have the bulb and then you have the leaf of the beet. When I get these in my CSA, the first thing that I'll do is I will cut the leaves. Oftentimes I'll saute those, but if you separate that, it's not going to, create that wilting, and certainly the bulb of the beet can last a lot longer than what the leaf can. The next one is corn. So if you get sweet corn and you're storing it in your fridge, keep it in the husk. That'll keep it longer. Citrus fruits, if you put them even out onto your counter, that can last as long as 2 weeks out on your counter. And then we've got things like garlic and onions. And for these, we want to have them in something and then store them in a dark, cool place in your cupboards. Also interesting is that you don't want to store onions and potatoes together because they will rot quicker, so keeping those separate. And then potatoes, I found this interesting, that if you store potatoes and apples, it'll help not to have your potatoes sprout. So I definitely thought that was interesting. But as you're storing garlic, if you're storing garlic and onions in a cool place, it can last up to 4 months. And if you store, onions, this was interesting. I don't know how many women use pantyhose anymore, but this is an interesting little tip that I found, is that you can use the pantyhose and then just make a knot above and below, and instead of, I'll say, the 4 months that it would last, it could last for 8 months. So if you're a gardener and you've got a big harvest of onions and you're trying to figure out how to make it last longer, that tip might even be worth going out and buying a pair of pantyhose just to preserve your food for a longer period of time. Mushrooms is the next one. Mushrooms obviously usually comes in kind of a cardboard container and then it has the plastic wrap over it. That plastic wrap, I would take that off and put the mushrooms into a brown bag, because that plastic, we all know keeps that moisture in, and if we don't get to our mushrooms soon enough, they can oftentimes start the decay process earlier than what we would like. So putting mushrooms into a brown bag. The next one is herbs. So herbs, there's a couple of different things you can do. What I saw described was, have them in an airtight container, and then also have a moist towel. Sometimes for herbs, when I have a big bunch of the herbs, I'll put, like in a jar, put some water in the bottom, and then I'll cover the top. So either of those things will help you to be able to have those herbs last longer. Leafy greens, some things to think about are, don't wash them until you're ready to use them. When you do wash them, a salad spinner is a great way to get that moisture out. If you prepare some lettuce, it's nice to use even a napkin to put over top of the lettuce, so that way, again, that moisture gets absorbed and the leafy greens don't, and that's any leafy greens, lettuce, arugula, spinach, etc., but that'll help to not have it wilt and go bad sooner. And then looking at things like apples, pears, and bananas, all of these emit a ripening gas, so you don't want to have those close to other vegetables, or else they'll ripen, or fruits or vegetables, they'll ripen them faster, and if you have those separate, it'll have for a longer shelf life. So here's just kind of a quick run through some easy, simple steps to how to get to have your fruits and vegetables to last longer. I hope you've enjoyed this video. We always love your questions. Let us know if you want me to come back to my kitchen and address something about food, or maybe there's a lifestyle or a wellness question that you might have. So just write that question down below in the comments.